Welcome, Jet fans, to another episode of the Jets Life podcast. This episode's following the Jets' win against the Green Bay Packers, where we led from beginning to end and never looked back. First half was a little rough, kind of stalemate, a lot of field position battling to end the half at a 3-3 score, but the Jets blew the doors wide open in the third and fourth quarter to finish the game off with a 27-10 win against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Now, Jets took another big step this week in this victory. The week before, the excuses were out. Jets were playing a third string quarterback, but this defense locked down those big play receivers, which was their task going into the Miami Dolphins game this week. It was a lot of the same. The Jets defense came in with a heavy rush, led by Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, Sheldon Rankins. They were giving Aaron Rodgers fits all day long. Yes, the receivers aren't the greatest in Green Bay. We understand that, but you still got a Hall of Fame quarterback back there who made a career out of making big plays without much talent. You had Devontae Adams over the past few years, but before that, there was really just a constant, you know, not many big name receivers. So, uh, you know, we're always going to have that kind of stigma around it when Jets do well. There's always a reason why, but I mean, Sauce Gardner just locking down the outside. I mean, he's just developing so quickly, faster than really I could have imagined or any of us could really imagine. I mean, he's already. I mean, I think it's easy to say he's a top 10 corner in the NFL. What you wanted out of a top four pick is somebody who, one, can make plays and two, can change the culture. Sauce has done all of that to the extent of wearing Cheesehead at the end of the game in celebration of the win. One that this whole entire team should be very proud of themselves for. Um, you know, the win against Cleveland, come from behind win, great. The win against Pittsburgh, come from behind win, great. In Pittsburgh, nonetheless. The win against the Dolphins last week, another big win, a win that this team has kind of been fighting for such a long time. It was the plan for this team was to win games in the division. That Dolphins game was a huge win for this team. I don't care who the quarterback was, but the biggest one was this one, in my opinion, to this point. A game against the Packers at Lambeau. I'll be honest with you, going into the season, I chalked this one up as a loss until I saw this team play this year. Going into this game, with the way this defense has been playing lately, it was, just one of those things. It's like the only concern I had going into this game, as far as this team is concerned, was more of what's Aaron Rodgers going to do following a loss. I didn't know this stat beforehand, but they said it plenty of times on the broadcast that the Packers are 10-0 with Mike LaFleur as the head coach, or Matt LaFleur as the head coach, and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback following a loss. That obviously changed with that loss to the Jets. And again, you just with such a young team, this is such a huge win, organization statement win for this team. Just so proud of everything that this team is doing to this point of the year. But yeah, sticking with the defense here for a second, let's start with the front four. Consistently driving pressure, consistently. I mean, Quinnen Williams could have been out there by himself and just dominated this game. That he was a wreck. 2 sacks on the game. He had the blocked field goal. I mean, if this guy doesn't get Defensive Player of the Week this week, I mean, that's a huge robbery. This guy has just been a monster from the start of the season, and he is getting better and better and better as his snap count rises, which was obviously a major concern over the past few weeks. But can't help but notice this whole entire defensive line has just transitioned so quickly into a top unit. Early in the season, the pass rush wasn't getting there. We had some concerns. High-priced defensive line. When are they going to get there? Well, they're starting to get there, and they're starting to get there a lot. Rodgers just had no answer. The quick passes weren't there because this back end of this defense is just, we can say it, they're elite. You got Sauce and DJ Reed back there just blanketing people, sticking to their hip the entire game. It is going to be very frustrating. And Michael Carter, I mean, I keep forgetting about him every time I talk about these two. Um, you you cannot downplay his role in this team. He is, on that fourth and goal, he was the guy in coverage. Rodgers had to put it out there. Yeah, if Rodgers makes a perfect pass, I think that's probably a completion on that fourth down late in the second quarter. But you know what? Good coverage right there. Rodgers had to make a perfect pass. He didn't do it. Just flat out, these corners are solid, and it's going to be a major problem for whoever has to go against us. And what makes life easier for these corners is the play of these linebackers. Quan Alexander, C.J. Mosley, and even Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams' first game back, when he got his injury against Cincinnati, he was all over the field that game. He was a beast. He was probably one of the best players on the defense that game. Obviously, the corners played well, locking down Chase for the most part. Higgins had his moments, but as far as other players, someone I saw on that defense just all over the field, it was Quincy Williams. And when he got injured and he got carted off, I just looked down and I'm like, oh, just unfortunate. This guy is someone that we picked up off waivers from Jacksonville last year and was just, even last year, he was just all over the field. But that game was different. He just seemed like he was just like comfortable with the team, comfortable with everything. He was getting there, and I was just super thrilled with what I saw out of the Cincinnati game. And then he came back, first game back after the injury. It looked like he didn't miss a beat. You wouldn't even think he missed a game. He was all over the field. First play of the second half, you come out, offense went 3 and out, and you're like, oh, all right. Rodgers and his Green Bay offense had the half to regroup. What are they going to come out with? First play of the game, looked like an open hole for Aaron Jones to run up and get a gain, pretty decent gain. And all of a sudden, that hole just sealed up quickly, and he just, form tackled Aaron Jones in the backfield. Just, I mean, you cannot say enough about this linebacking group, and especially considering like going into the year, this was one of my weak spots for this team. The linebackers and the safeties, and both groups have rebounded. Safeties had their problems, especially in that keep going to Cincinnati game. That was probably one of the worst games we had all season. But keep going back to that Cincinnati game, safeties were, did not have their best game for sure. But lately they've been solid in coverage. Yeah, Joyner was in coverage on the Allen Lazard touchdown, but I mean, Rodgers is gonna get his share. He's gonna get his place, and he did there to hold this Green Bay offense to one touchdown at home. That's a lot that says a lot for where this defense is at this early in the season. And we continue with just solid defensive play. I cannot say it enough. I ripped Ulbrich. I ripped Saleh early in the season when this defense just seemed like it was not working. When this defensive line rotation was just not getting home. But you got, JFM. You've got Quinnen Williams. You've got Carl Lawson. You've got Sheldon Rankins. Jermaine Johnson, who didn't even play this game and hasn't even reached his potential yet. He's another bright star that we're going to eventually, I would hope, as the season goes on, see more and more of him. And then these depth pieces. I mean, Jacob Martin even had a few plays in this game that, to cause some trouble. Not as much obviously as others, but any contributions you can get from your fifth or sixth guy on your defensive line rotation says a lot about where this team is at. But I mean, overall, round of applause for this defense. They came into this game when we needed it. They came in, played their game, held this offense to 10 points, skill players or not, just held this entire team in check at home, or for our team on the road, and we're in cheeseheads on the way out. Sauce is the statement of what this team is. They drafted him number 4 overall, and he has been every bit worth that selection. I don't know that you can really name any players that have come in and made a bigger impact than Sauce Gardner on this season as a rookie player. That he has been every bit what we wanted and what we expected out of a number 4 pick. I'm going as far as to say he's probably been one of our best picks in recent memory. I just absolutely thrilled with what I'm seeing out of Sauce Gardner. Continue with the other side of the ball offensively. Um, it was the Breece Hall show and this offensive line. Zach Wilson made his passes when he wanted when they were there. 10 of 18, 110 yards. Yes, doesn't blow up, doesn't stick out. He didn't win the game, with his arm, but he won the game with his mind. He made good plays. There was a couple of those head scratching throws um, early in the game on our first field goal attempt after the LaMarcus Joyner fumble recovery. That weird play where he rolled out and looked like he stepped out of bounds and threw the ball and almost got intercepted. It also hit Corey Davis in the hand, so you can say that a little bit too. But um, as good as the throw was, and if Corey Davis caught it, would have been great. But just one you kind of wish that he'd just throw it away, and you had the points, especially on the road. You don't want to risk a turnover. And there was another throw earlier, two throws that pop out where Jair Alexander was covering Garrett Wilson. Throw was a little bit behind, so a few plays here and there that I can nitpick on Zach Wilson, but let's go to that huge throw to Corey Davis. That got us moving. After a couple of runs to the left side, he hits Corey Davis deep for about 40 yards, 41 yards, whatever, to get us inside the red zone. And then a couple plays later, or maybe it was the next play, was Braxton Berrios' end around, where Dwayne Brown was and Dwayne Brown has been just a monster in this game. He was a lead blocker. It looked like on a lot of these end around type of plays, and you saw him downfield blocking guys and led Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios needed that extra block to get in. He got it from Dwayne Brown, and Braxton made that last guy miss, got in the end zone. But yeah, I mean, this offense didn't come out and score all these points, whatever. They came out and they did their job. That's what you want out of this team. And Breece Hall continues to impress. Another player that has come in and is playing like a veteran. He's getting better and better every single week. I mean, that play where the touchdown run where he's supposed to pitch it, and he had the wherewithal to say, no, this play is that the pitch is not going to work on this play. I need to cut it upfield, and for him to cut it upfield, and that it was bottled up. I thought that play was going to be a loss. When I saw it happening, I didn't know what was going on, but I saw Breece had the ball, and there was players everywhere for both of us, for the Packers and the Jets. It was like, out of all 22 players, there's maybe like 15 people right within a 10-yard span of each other, and he just kind of cuts upfield and uses his speed, gets outside, hits a stiff arm, gets into the end zone. And that was just an unexpected touchdown in my eyes. I don't know, like the analytics stuff, what it says, yards over expected, but that had to have been one of those plays where it was just like it was expected to be a loss, and he gained 20 yards down the field to score that touchdown. But yeah, it's been the Breece Hall show these last couple of games. Obviously, 197 yards against the Dolphins. Had 116 rushing yards this week against the Packers. He has just been, as good as Sauce has been for the defense, he has been just as good for the Jets offense, which is, obvious reason why is why these two guys are betting favorites right now to be offensive and defensive rookie of the year, respectively. But yeah, I mean, the offense, just what you'd like to see is more of the shots, more of the deep plays. But if this running game is as powerful as it's been, I mean, Breece Hall leads the league over the past few weeks in 10-yard rushes. I mean, this offensive line is doing their job, especially with its current format, with AVT at right, Herbig at right guard, McGovern at center, obviously. Your left guard, Tomlinson, who has rebounded and played really well over the last couple of games, and Dwayne Brown, obviously, at your left tackle. It's solid. I almost wonder when Fant comes back or Max Mitchell comes back. I mean, the way Herbig is playing in between McGovern and Vera Tucker, I almost wonder if they leave this offensive line the way it is, for a few more games, or, I mean, as long as these guys stay healthy. I mean, I don't see why you would do anything right now to this team. They're playing at a high level. They're playing really good football right now. I mean, you can't tell me that there's 10 other teams in the league right now that are playing better football than this Jets offense as far as the offensive line and the running game is concerned. Um, it's just been fantastic the way this team has been playing over these last few weeks. Again, I I I did think the Jets were going to come out and be 3-2. I expected them to win exactly the way they did, with or without Zach. That was kind of my thing. I thought they had a shot against Ravens and could have been 4-1 with Zach, but obviously we'll never know the truth on that. But I did expect them to be 3-2. I did not expect for them to go into Lambeau Field and be 4-2. That was not on my thing. My goal was 4-5, 5-4 at the bye week would be a huge win for this team. Well, they've got their 4 wins, and right at this point, you're playing with house money. Just keep winning games, keep stringing together wins. You got Denver coming up next week, another game that we expected to be a loss, or maybe earlier, when the schedule came out, and the way that Denver's been playing, that game looks winnable. You got after them, you've got the Patriots. We're the home team in that game. You want to keep winning games in the division, especially your home games. That's the one to look at, and then obviously the big one against the Bills before the bye week. So obviously let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But again, another few players on this team that I just want to call out. Michael Clemens, who I mean came in on that punt block. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin in my eyes. I mean, once we got that punt block, I feel like it was just a matter of time. And then obviously after that, we had the Packers scored a touchdown, and we sealed it with that Breece Hall run. But when you get a special teams play, and we had 2 of them this game, the field goal block I mentioned earlier from Quinnen, and then Michael Clemens coming in for the punt block that was ran back by Will Parks. This team, they won on all 3 phases. We had a punt block of our own, but obviously, like I said, we matched it with them on our ensuing block. But I mean, you cannot say enough about what it looks like this team is going to become. All young teams. They showed a graphic of the star players on this team that are 24 and younger. Obviously, your quarterback, Zach Wilson. Your 2 receivers, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. You got Breece Hall. Obviously, we've spoken about him a lot. Elijah Vera Tucker, who looks like he's going to, he just looks like an all-pro player. Whether it's this year, it should be, or next year, the guy is just trending upwards. That trade up was worth every draft pick that they gave up for him. And obviously this year with Sauce, the list goes on and on with this team. You just cannot name enough players on this team that are making big plays and are developing at a rapid rate, faster than I expected. Again, could not expect this team to be 4-2 at this point, and especially in the manner that they're doing. I said earlier I thought they were going to be 3-2. I did not expect them to come out and blow the doors off on the Dolphins. I don't care who the quarterback was. They held Tyreek Hill. They held Jalen Waddle with these corners in check. That is a huge, huge momentum boost. It may not look good to the people on the outside, but don't tell me for a second that Sauce and Reed were not pounding their chest. They were able to contain these guys and just build off that. Again, missed Michael Carter. He was also involved in the coverage. He was on Waddle a lot that game. Just, again, a huge team win, and really just, the expectations have just been taken up to a new level. I kind of thought this team was in that 7 to 9 win range. Still going to keep my expectations set, but if they continue to play the way they're playing, there's no reason why they can't easily hit that 9-win mark and even go above that. Again, our expectations are high for this team right now, the way that they're playing, and I'm just really excited over the direction of this team. So as we conclude, I just want to, just close it off with, as good as this team has looked and as good as everything has been, we're still growing. There was a few moments in this game where you kind of looked at this team and you saw that there was just, mistakes here and there, and that'll happen in the first half. But, Solid brought it up a few weeks ago about how this team tends to play better late in games. And he said it has something to do with, early in the game, they're seeing things for the first time, and as the game goes on, They've seen it, and they know how to respond. That has happened too frequently this season, to where it's it's obviously in this team's DNA now. They're a second half team. They If they can keep these games close, every single game this season is going to be winnable. It's just a matter of getting the fast starts. The fast starts in these games, if they can get ahead of teams early, it's going to go a long way. I mean, we can even go back to, the Ravens game and the Cincinnati game. Similar. Those games were, well, not the Cincinnati game. Sorry, the Ravens game. That game was close. I mean, I forget the score at halftime, but it was within a score. It was. I know for a fact that I was saying, like, if we score a touchdown to open up the second half, this is a game. Even going back to that game, this team has been consistently just playing great football in the second half. And if they can just become a decent first half team and continue and maybe even get ahead of these teams, I mean, and especially starting this week with Denver, if they can get ahead of Denver, that team is trending downwards very, very fast. That fan base is not happy with the direction of this team right now. They've lost a lot of draft picks in that trade for Russell Wilson. There's still a lot of season left. Who knows what happens from here on out? But it does not look good. This team was expecting to be, in that mix in the AFC West right now, and that AFC West has turned into a two horse race with just the Chargers and the Chiefs. With everyone else, obviously the Raiders have disappointed this year, and so have the Broncos. But it's that has turned into a 2-team race, and Broncos need to start putting together some wins in order for their season to turn around. And if the Jets, like I said, if the Jets can come in there and get ahead of them, there are going to be some grumblings. You will see this fan base, the Denver fans, will start to boo. They left the game in overtime because they were just so frustrated with the direction of the offense. That's how bad things are over there. So again, if this team can just turn the notch up in the first half of these games just that little bit, and continue to play the way they are in the third and fourth quarters, again, this team is going to take that next step sooner than we know it. At 4-2, very proud of the direction of this team. Could it be better? Sure, but I'm excited for the direction of this team right now. At 4-2, I'm just so pumped for the next challenge, the next opponent, and go Jets against Denver. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna re-record either Thursday or Friday of this week to discuss the Denver game. Hope you can join me, and thank you. JETS, Jets.